Echoes in the void. In the great spiral arms of the galactic east, where stars hung like frozen fireflies in the dark, there were only whispers left of humanity. Kale Vorta had spent most of his young life chasing those whispers. The Ilari were an old and scholarly race, elegant and cautious. Their spires reached the clouds of crystalline cities, and their culture prized logic over legend. But Kale, unlike his peers, had always been drawn to the edge of known space, to myths, to half-buried signals, and especially to the forbidden name that had once made empires tremble: human. His obsession had earned him quiet scorn. Children's stories, Elder Rezhai would chide. Humans were a galactic metaphor, a cautionary tale about aggression and ambition. Nothing more. Kale had nodded, always nodding. But in secret, he never stopped digging. And now, drifting in the dead orbit of a rogue planet light years from any trade lane, Kale found what should not exist: a Class 9 Sentinel AI core. Still active, still watching. He floated toward it in his shuttle, the metal hulk of the station looming larger through the viewport. Lights flickered dimly in forgotten corridors. Its broadcast had been faint, almost subconscious. Not a distress call, but a pulse, ancient and rhythmic like a heartbeat sealed in steel. Once docked, Kale moved through the darkness, breath loud in his helmet. He passed faded sigils he didn't recognize, but they stirred something primitive in him. An emblem, an eagle clutching arrows. Words in a dead tongue: United Earth Defense Force. At the station's core, he found it: a sealed archive node marked classified, Omega Protocol. The AI's voice met him, static-laced, emotionless. Designation confirmed. Clearance bypassed. Accessing file. A hollow bloomed in the air, grainy, degraded by centuries of decay. But what it showed made Kale stumble back. The video opened on the deck of a warship. Not an Ilari ship, not Union standard, but stark, industrial, brutalist. Alarms flared. Red strobes blinked. And then came the humans. Bipedal forms in thick, angular armor. Faceless, merciless. They moved like liquid iron. One raised a weapon and tore through a door designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Another disabled a sentry drone with a flick of their wrist. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Alien soldiers, Union species Kale recognized, screamed as they fell under the humans' assault. The footage lasted barely a minute, and then it ended. Kale stood there, silent. His heart thundered in his chest. They were real. He downloaded the file, fingers trembling. The station AI spoke again, this time with something different in its voice, something almost like reverence. You are the first. The last cycle failed, but the myth survives. They still live. Kale backed away, spine prickling. Where? He asked. Where are they? Unknown. They scattered. They prepared. Prepared? Kale left the station in a daze, the artifact burning in his mind. He jumped back to Ilari space and presented his findings to the Concord Research Tribunal with the enthusiasm of a true believer. They laughed. Elder Rezhai was coldest of all. Fabrication, he said. You've been tricked by old war propaganda. Return to your assigned studies. Kale's voice cracked with frustration. I saw it. You can't fake their movement, their presence. They were real. The tribunal dismissed him. The file was sealed. The AI's coordinates were deleted from the database. And Kale was given a final warning. Pursue this myth again, and your caste status will be revoked. But the fire inside him was already beyond extinguishing. He couldn't unsee what he had seen. Couldn't forget the precision of those soldiers, the fear in the alien screams, or the sense that humanity hadn't died. It had gone silent. Back in his private quarters, Kale stared at the encrypted copy of the video he had secretly saved. The words of the AI echoed in his ears again. They still live. What if they had watched the galaxy for millennia, waiting for something? What if the myths were never wrong, just censored? Kale opened a secure line to a contact he hadn't spoken to in years. A disgraced explorer. A madman by Union standards. Captain Surujex, Kale whispered, heart pounding. I think I found them. A pause, then a gravelly chuckle through the line. Took you long enough, scholar. Pack your things. We're going ghost hunting. The Embers of Earth. Kale Vorta had never broken a law before. Not until he crossed into the dead zones. The starfield outside the shuttle's viewport was wrong. Too quiet, too still. The usual chatter of sensor pulses and cosmic radiation was muted. Space here wasn't just empty. It was hiding something. Soru Jex grunted at the helm. His scarred hands moved over the controls like a musician brushing dusty keys. He was half Garari, half legend, and all trouble. Once a decorated captain, now a smuggler and ex-con. But Kale needed him. He was the only one who'd ever claimed to see Earth. No one comes here, Jex muttered. Not pirates. Not traitors. Not even the scavengers. Spook space, they call it. Kale stared at the star map. And yet, something's here. Argus led us straight to this system. Argus, Jex scoffed, side-eyeing the small data core Kale carried, is a derelict AI with 2,000 years of dust in its gears. Kale said nothing. He clutched the AI drive like a relic, a whisper from another age. Then it happened. As the shuttle crossed a seemingly blank stretch of space, the stars twisted. Sensor screamed. For a moment, it felt like the universe folded in on itself. Then they were through, and in front of them loomed a world. Gray and blue, cloud-streaked and quiet, orbiting a modest yellow star. Gods, Jex whispered. It's real. Earth. Kale leaned forward, breath caught in his throat. The legends had called it Cradle World. Others had simply called it the Ash. But it was here, the birthplace of humanity. Orbiting the planet was a massive structure, a battle station, silent and cold, jagged in shape, with old scars that still burned faintly across its surface. Its hull was adorned with rusted letters in ancient Terran script. Arkhaven. Kale ran a scan. No life signs. No active power. But one section is still drawing minimal energy. Jex nodded. Then we dock. The airlock screeched as it opened. A wave of stale, cold air hit them. Lights flickered to life one by one, reluctantly acknowledging their presence. Dust floated like frozen memories in the stale air. Kale's boots echoed down the corridor as they walked in silence. They passed murals, crumbling and faded. Images of people, Terrans, in uniforms, in battle, in embrace. The stories told through the walls were haunting. A species rising, reaching, then vanishing. Then they found it. A cryo chamber. Rows upon rows of sealed pods. Some dark, empty, shattered. But one still held a single figure. A human. Male. Muscled. Weathered even in sleep. Pale light pulsed from the pod's control panel. Kale's hands trembled. Vital signs stable. He's alive. Jex swore under his breath. 3 millennia asleep. And still breathing. Argus, Kale said, activating the AI core. What is this place? Final outpost. Project Enoch. Designed to preserve strategic assets following Exodus protocol. One survivor remains. Kale stepped forward. Can we wake him? Affirmative. Warning. Reanimation may induce aggression. Subject classified. EDF Colonel, Special Operations. Jex unslung his weapon, just in case. You want to poke the last human in the galaxy awake? Be my guest. I'll be over here, not dying. Kale pressed the sequence. The pod hissed. Steam coiled into the air like a ghost escaping. The figure inside stirred. Fingers twitched. Then his eyes opened, cold, gray, and sharp. He didn't gasp. He didn't panic. He sat up like he'd only blinked. His gaze swept the room, settling on Kale. Where am I? He asked, voice low and rough like broken glass. Kale swallowed hard. You're in orbit above Earth. You've been asleep for over 3,000 years. The man blinked once. Status of the Earth Defense Fleet. Kale shook his head. Gone. Humanity vanished from all records after the cleansing war. Jex added, to most people, you're just a myth. A ghost story. The man stepped out of the pod, unsteady but composed. He looked out a cracked viewport at the planet below. His face didn't show sorrow, only calculation. Name? Kale asked. Colonel Elias Wren, the man said quietly. Last recorded commander of Blackwatch Division. Kale stared. Blackwatch was real. Wren's eyes met his. We were all real. And we didn't vanish. We hid. Kale felt his breath catch. Why? Ren's jaw tensed. Because the galaxy wanted us dead, and we weren't ready to win. Not yet. Jex stepped forward cautiously. Win what? Ren looked between them both. The war that never ended. Then he turned back to the stars. Give me intel. I need to know what's changed. What still breathes? And who controls the council? Kale exhaled, pulse racing. The myths had bones. The past had a name. And now it had a face. Humanity had not died. It had just waited. Reclaimers of the lost dawn. The war never ended. That thought echoed in Kale Vorda's mind as he stood on the deck of Archaven, watching Colonel Elias Ren pace in silence. The last living human. The last soldier of a forgotten war. Ren moved with the discipline of someone trained to kill in zero gravity. Even in silence, he radiated authority. But beneath it, Kale saw something else too. The weight of time. Of memories no one else alive could share. I've reviewed your star charts, Ren said at last, his voice measured. The Galactic Union structure has changed, fractured, more like. The Council still exists. Yes, Kale replied, but it's grown slow, political, afraid of disruption. Ren scoffed. That's how they always were, terrified of what they couldn't control. He turned to face Kale and Soru Jex, his gray eyes hardening. You want the truth about the cleansing war? It wasn't about control. It was about fear. Kale leaned forward, listening. 3,000 years ago, humanity was at its peak. We didn't conquer. We influenced. We terraformed, shared tech, helped dying species rebuild. But we didn't kneel to the council. We challenged their authority, their secrecy. Ren's lip curled. So they branded us dangerous, unstable, too unpredictable for peace. They united every major species and launched a preemptive strike. Burned colonies, blockaded Earth, wiped entire cities off the map. Kale felt a chill run down his spine. But why didn't humanity fight back? Ren looked out the viewport. We did, but not the way they expected. He tapped a command into the console, and an ancient hollow bloomed in the air. It showed flickers of black-armored soldiers, efficient, surgical, vanishing in a void after every operation. Insurgent tactics. Shadow warfare. We vanished, Ren said. We scattered across space, deeper than any council eyes could follow. We took our tech underground, built sleeper fleets, vaults, cradles. The Archaven was just one of dozens. Kale stepped closer to the flickering projection. You turned yourselves into a myth. Ren nodded. Because stories survive where soldiers don't. We knew one day the Union would grow weak, divided, and when that day came, they wouldn't need rulers. He locked eyes with Kale. They'd need us. A beeping from Jex's wrist pad interrupted them. His face twisted as he read the transmission. We just picked up a pulse from the frontier, he said grimly. The Jathari Empire has invaded Tyranni's Prime. Took the system in under 6 hours. Kale froze. That's a core world. Ren exhaled slowly. Then it begins. Kale turned to him. What do you mean? I mean, Ren said, walking to a control panel, that the Council's doctrine of pacification and paralysis just failed its final test. The Union's falling apart. The Jathari won't stop. They were always waiting for weakness. He entered a long-dead code into the system. A soft hum filled the air. All around them, lights blinked to life. Archaven began to awaken. What are you doing? Kale asked. Sending a beacon, Ren replied. There are others, Blackwatch captains, sleeping fleets, AI cores scattered through deep space, buried for this exact moment. Kale's mind reeled. But if the Council sees humans rise again, they'll panic, Ren finished. I know. Then why risk it? Ren's gaze was calm, unshakable. Because if we wait any longer, there won't be a council left to object. Just a graveyard of burned worlds. Kale struggled to find the words. They told us you were monsters. That humanity had to be purged to protect galactic peace. Ren smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Funny. They called us monsters after they tried to wipe us out. A heavy silence settled between them. I don't want revenge, Ren said finally. I want stability, survival, redemption, if that's possible. But I'll take order over extinction. Jex grunted, looking at the blinking signal on his wrist pad. Council's about to learn what a real army looks like. Ren turned to Kale. I need you to get me in front of them. The council. Show them proof. Not just me, everything. They must understand what's coming. Kale hesitated. They'll never listen to a human. Then they'll listen to you, Ren said, stepping closer. You're not a warrior. You're a scholar. You believed in truth. That matters. Kale swallowed hard. His entire life, he had dreamed of finding humanity. He hadn't realized that dream would come with war. He gave a nod, small but certain. I'll get you in. As Archaven continued its slow resurrection, its systems humming with ancient power, Kale knew everything had changed. The stars would never look the same again. The galaxy's most feared myth had awakened, and now it was reaching for the light. When Titans wake, the Hall of Concordance had not known silence in centuries. Built atop a moon carved smooth by time and pride, it was the symbolic heart of the Galactic Union. A chamber of towering archways, holographic stars spinning endlessly overhead, and representatives from 100 worlds in constant debate. Until today. Because today, a human walked its floor, Colonel Elias Wren's armored steps echoed across polished obsidian. The guards flinched. Delegates stared. Elder Rezhai of the Ilari rose slowly from his dais. Disbelief stretched across his ancient features. This cannot be, Rezhai whispered. You are extinct. Wren's voice was steady. We were hidden, buried, not dead. Kale Vorta stood beside him, heart hammering. He had thought this moment would bring him vindication. Instead, it brought dread. Every eye in the chamber was filled with fear. Wren raised his voice, letting it carry across the great hall. You've grown complacent in our absence. You thought your peace was permanent, but war has returned to your doorstep. The Jathari now claim your core systems, and they will not stop. A gruff delegate from the Otari snarled. And what do you offer? A second war? Another empire of blood? Wren didn't flinch. I offer a shield. You've forgotten how to defend yourselves. We haven't. The room erupted. Shouts in different languages. Threats. Accusations. Kale stepped forward, his voice shaking but strong. He speaks the truth. I found the records. I saw the videos. We all believe the lie, that humanity burned itself out. But it was you who struck first. You built a galaxy on their silence. Silence fell again. Then, Wren pulled a data crystal from his belt and inserted it into the central console. The projection that followed showed battle footage. Not from history, from now. Tyranny's Prime under siege. Jathari warships carving through Union fleets like they were paper. Screams. Fire. The crackle of comms from dying commanders. And then a final image. A Blackwatch dreadnought. Sleek. Silent. Alive. Hovering between the Jathari and the burning world. A single voice came through the feed. Target locked. Blackwatch standing by. Delegates gasped. Rezhai collapsed back into his seat. Kale looked around at them all. You can choose fear, or you can choose survival. But know this, humanity has already chosen. Jex's voice came through Kale's earpiece. It's happening. Sleeper fleets coming online across 4 systems. Earth-based AI have reawakened. They're responding to Wren's call. The tide had turned. Within hours, the galaxy began to shift. On the edges of Union space, Blackwatch ships emerged from ghost sectors, ancient engines roaring like thunder. Each vessel bore scars from a war the Union tried to erase, and they came not with vengeance, but with precision. On Tyranny's Prime, a Jathari battlecruiser fell from orbit in flames. Black armored troops stormed the surface. Where chaos had reigned, order returned. Not just through force, but through tactics, speed, and something the Union had forgotten, determination. Kale stood aboard the Archaven, now restored and in high orbit above Earth, watching a transmission from dozens of liberated worlds pour in. He could barely process the images, civilians cheering as human soldiers distributed food, restored power grids, repaired satellites. They weren't conquerors. They were reclaimers. Beside him, Wren watched in silence. They still fear us, Kale said quietly. They should, Wren replied. Then softer, but in time they'll see. See what? Wren's eyes were tired, but resolute. that we didn't come back to rule. We came back because someone had to stand up. Because the myth of humanity isn't fire and conquest. It's resilience. We endure. We rebuild. We protect. Kale swallowed a lump in his throat. Will you stay in the shadows? He asked. No, Rin turned to him. That time is over. The galaxy needs to know we're real, and that we're watching. In the Hall of Concordance, a new seal was added to the Great Stone of Species, a Terran sigil, the eagle and arrows of the United Earth Defense Force, reborn under a new name, the Human Reclamation Accord. Kale was there when they etched it in. His hand shook as he watched the ancient symbol join the others. He knew there would still be fear, still be politics and resistance. But the lie was broken. Humanity had returned, not as ghosts or monsters or myths, but as guardians of the stars they once called home. And somewhere, in the cold dark between systems, old fleets stirred, waiting for orders, waiting for hope, waiting for the next time the galaxy would need the titans of Earth to wake.